suppose you think I'm being difficult.
It's important we understand one another, Mr. Banks.
Well, can you just give me another couple of minutes? Let me ask you a couple of questions.
Yes, of course.
Right. What about these fertility drugs that they use?
Very carefully monitored, and only used in some cases where they can be of help.
No side effects?
There are side effects to every drug, but each patient reacts in their own individual way. You can't ask for a completely trouble-free pregnancy right from the word go, but it will be as easy and uncomplicated as they can make it. You may be sure of that.
Thanks. Now, I read somewhere that they can fertilize more than one egg at a time.
Yes, that's true.
So what do you do with the rest? You put one back inside the mother. What happens to the others?
In some cases, they can be frozen, banked for future use.
By the same parents?
Well, of course, by the same parents. Really, Mr. Banks, we're not operating a black market in human embryos.
No, sorry. Well, you can't help wondering, can you? I mean, all right, yeah, I can't see them doing it over here, not our doctors, but what happens if they get into the hands of the cowboys?
Oh, I don't...
It's possible, isn't it, eh? All them private clinics in the States and on the continent. Here too, probably. Money's the only thing that counts with them. And let's say they've got a couple where perhaps it's the husband's fault, he's infertile. What's to stop them buying somebody else's?
You're letting your imagination run away with you, Mr. Banks. In such a case, there are sperm banks, voluntary donors, all very simple.
It may be very simple to you, Doctor, but to somebody like me, it's questions like that need answering. Look, you're playing around with people's lives. You're not experimenting anymore, you're creating.
All right. I understand how you feel. But we're not doing the creating, Mr. Banks. You are. You and your wife, in just the same way as you would be in a normal conception. All that happens is that we help your wife to conceive, something that would not be possible for her to do on her own. There's no way you can start a baby on your own, simply because the fallopian tubes are blocked.
I know they explain that at the clinic.
Well then, all that happens is that the baby, once given life, is replaced in the womb by minor surgery. Now, where's the creation in that? It's just first aid in an emergency.
Yeah. I suppose I've been thinking too much.
It's the ethical side that bothers you.
No, not just that. Well, it's what Glenda's got to go through. Now, supposing after she... Well, I mean, supposing it doesn't take for her or it goes wrong.
She's faced up to that possibility a long time ago, Mr. Banks.
Lamont's son, Ashley, was here. He's taken Kate away.
Yes, I saw them go through reception.
Technically, she's not under arrest. She's merely accompanying him, but he made it plain enough that she would be charged.
With what?
Everything in these matters goes from one technicality to another. Technically, he couldn't say. And I didn't want to guess.
Yes, well, she'll tell you when she comes back.
You know she'll be back?
Well, of course. This afternoon.
Well, how do you know that? Did Lamont let you speak to her as they went?
Well, I wasn't foolish enough to talk to him about it. But, I mean, the most they can charge her with is manslaughter. Bail would be granted. Well, surely you knew that.
Yes, I knew that. I knew it even before Lamont said it. But knowing these things impersonally is one matter. When you're directly concerned, another. I spent most of the time he was here imagining her in a prison cell.
Yes, I know. And I also know that you're now imagining her standing in the dock, waiting for sentence to be passed on her. Well, that won't happen either.
Well, if it does, she will go to prison.
But it won't.
Even though you believe that however Tony Moran died, she was guilty of his death?
I've never believed or disbelieved. I have no grounds on which to judge her.
You know all the facts, rumors, suppositions that can be brought up in evidence, as I do.
Yes, but not the most important one. The woman herself. And you know more about that than anyone. And that should tell you whether she's guilty or not. And if I know you, it's told you she's not.
I never doubted her. But I won't be the judge in that court. He, you see, won't be able to say that that woman saved him from ruining his life. He won't be able to look at you and say the woman in the dock made it possible for him to marry you.
Oh, Mrs. Banks. Sorry to kept you waiting so long. Would you like to come through now?
Yeah. What have you been talking about? I thought you'd never come out.
Now, please, sit down, Mrs. Banks.
Thank you.
I've just been telling your husband that I'm now prepared to recommend you for inclusion in the programme.
Thank you, Doctor.
And also warning him that my word is not final. You still have to satisfy the consultants that you're a suitable couple.
Oh, yes, of course.
Well, there's a waiting list, of course, but in the circumstances, I think they'll be sympathetic. Now, first thing is to arrange for Mr. Banks to attend the clinic for a semen test. If that proves satisfactory, and I don't see why it shouldn't, there's nothing to stop your records being sent on to the hospital. Next week sometime?
Oh, yes, any time.
Mr. Banks?
Well, I have to get time off work. Is it okay if I ring you tomorrow?
Yes, of course. Make an appointment with my receptionist. Now, secondly, do you realize that you may not be able to rely on financial help from the National Health Service?
No, we know it's going to cost. It's about 2,000, isn't it?
Well, it might not be as much as that. You see, in the Midlands, we're hoping to create a scheme which will enable us to offer certain facilities, such as cheaper accommodation while awaiting tests. Oh, you do know that you'll be required to stay in or near the hospital?
Oh, yes, waiting for the right moment.
Yes, well, there's no point in going into too much detail here. Everything will be explained to you once that you've been accepted by the clinic. But you will be called into hospital the first time to make sure of the exact time of the ripening of the ovum in the menstrual cycle.
What happens if it isn't successful, if it goes wrong? I'm just talking about the money now. Shall we be expected to pay again if we have to wait and come back for a second try?
Ben, nothing's going to go wrong. Why do you have to look on the black side?
You'll have plenty of advice and help from the clinic once you're accepted. I'm sure there are special facilities for second tries.
We're not going to need a second try, are we, Kev?
Kath?
Oh, Mrs. Hunter, hello. I was just checking to see if there were enough menus in here.
Having a little weep. Oh, come on. Come on, sit down for a second. Come on. Oh, come on, Kath, sit down. You've been trying to do too much. Came back to work too soon, you know that?
Oh, no, I didn't. I wanted to come back more than anything. Oh, I'm not crying about Arthur. I've shed all the tears I can for him. There's just none left.
Well, what is it then? Go on. Tell me.
It's Glenda and that baby. I just can't accept it. I know it's going to make differences to us. I'm so fond of them both, you know. I don't want to go against them, but...
You find the whole idea a little unnatural?
Yes, I do. I mean, maybe I'm all behind the times, but to treat a baby like some sort of chemical, well, you know what I mean.
You think they're interfering with the natural process? Usurping the Almighty's privilege?
But don't you? I mean, don't you find it all a bit, well, awful?
No. No, I don't, actually. I think it's rather wonderful. I mean, just think of the women, like Glenda, who've despaired of ever having a child. I mean, what a marvellous breakthrough it's been for them. Doctors have worked for years and years and years on it. I mean, why should that go for nothing just because of our prejudices?
It's a different thing when your own daughter goes in for it.
Listen, Kath, Glenda wants her own child, her own son, her own daughter. I mean, perhaps her happiness depends on just that. A marriage. Think about that.
I'll try.
Yes. Miranda, hello. Yes, I'll tell Barbara. No, fine. I'll reserve my enthusiasm until you arrive. I'm sure you'll brighten up our Christmas considerably. Yeah. Until then. Miranda Pollard, confirming that she is able to come down from Scotland and take over Kate's duties. She'll be with us just a few days before Christmas.
Good.
A second memo to all concerned, Jill, Paul Ross, anyone like that.
No, it sounds like an official announcement that we're abandoning Kate.
Aren't we?
Not Really? She gave in her notice, David, of her own accord.
I'm not blaming you for this. I'm blaming myself.
Well, you shouldn't. I mean, you've helped her as much as you can. You're still helping her.
Yes, but you overlook this. She gave in her notice of her own accord, yes, but she didn't come here of her own accord. She didn't call for help. I made her come. I put my help onto her. What do you think I'm doing now? I can think of nothing more cruel than to need help, have it given unexpectedly, and then just as unexpectedly withdrawn. I should never have done this to either of you. Help misplaced only harms. Tell Jill about Miranda, of course. But warn her not to mention it to Paul Ross. If it's true that he's in constant touch with the Pollards, he'll tell them. And that'll bring J. Henry and Valerie down on us for Christmas. And that would be two straws which would break this camel's back.
I've checked that out with the same Paul Ross, without him knowing why, and Mummy and Daddy Pollard are definitely Christmasing where they are right now in Italy.
And as soon as that fact was made clear to me, the job was entered in the books in the normal fashion. That do you?
Nicely.
Well, how do you know without reading it?
Oh, you spoke it out loud and clear as you typed it.
And how do you know I typed what I spoke, officer?
Because I trust you.
Oh, yippee!
This is necessary, Sharon.
So you keep telling me.
Look, the woman admitted it. She killed Arthur Brownlow.
And it's all solved, isn't it?
That part of it, yes, but there are other implications.
And we all know what they are.
My father is involved. Look, I know you think it'd be a great idea for me to look the other way, yeah? But I can't do that.
And you wouldn't if you could.
Great, at least that much is sunk in. I have made mistakes in the past. Big ones, sure, yeah, but anymore. It's all over.
Hooray.
He covered up for her. Yeah, he provided her with an alibi, delayed our inquiries, he lied when questioned, he advised her to go into hiding, and then provided his own lawyer for her when I took her in.
That's quite a little case you've built up, isn't it?
Yes, well, it's coming along.
And when do you stop?
And I've got enough.
What for?
What I need.
So you were charged?
Manslaughter. Would you tell David for me, please? I want to rest.
Of course you do.
I'm all right, just tired. My solicitor prepared me for it, you see.
No, you go and rest, Kate. I prepared David for it.
So, what happens next?
Kevin has to make the appointment for his test.
Test?
To see if he's fertile. You've done it before, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, and I'm looking forward to it.
Can't be a lot of laughs.
Do you know, I've been thinking. I know I'm not in favour of the idea. I don't suppose I ever will be, but it's your life. I've got no right to disapprove. So, if you're sure that everything's going to work out well...
Well, we can't be that sure, Mum, but thanks for the vote of confidence. Makes the world of difference to Glenn. That's the only thing that's been spoiling it for her. You not approving of the idea.
Well, I suppose I'm being selfish, really. I'm just thinking...
Mum, you're not being selfish. I know why you've been worrying.
So, what about the money, then? That's the next problem, isn't it?
How much is it going to cost?
2,000, more or less. I'll have to take out a bank loan or something.
Ah, there's no need for that. He's got a rich godfather. Well, I can be godfather, can't I? Because that's the catch.
What? You mean you're going to lend us the money?
Not going to lend it to you, love. I'm going to give it to you. First present from a doting uncle.
Oh, Ron!
No, we couldn't possibly accept.
I'll have no nonsense. Look, I've been on an oil rig for over a year now. What do you think I've been spending the money on?
Thanks, Ron. I'll look on it as a loan.
Well, if you prefer it that way, pay me back when and how you can.
Well, that's a load off your minds, isn't it?
Can't believe it. Everything's looking so much more hopeful.
Yeah, well, that's what we must do now. Think of the future. We can't go back. I've got 1 or 2 changes to make round here. For one thing, I'm going to give you 2 the big bedroom.
Oh, Mum, we can't turn you out.
You're not turning me out, love. I'd be happier in the smaller one. I've got plenty of room. I mean, it's our house, not just mine. After all, and if there's anything I can do for you, well, it's only fair that you should have the best bedroom, isn't it?
Hello, Dad.
Oh, nice.
You got a minute?
Yeah. What are you doing here?
Oh, I had to see Mrs. Hamilton.
Oh.
But I wanted a word with you anyway.
Yeah. What, do you fancy a drink?
What, duty?
Oh, that's all right. I won't stop you.
No. You have one yourself, if you like.
Yeah. Yeah, I reckon I could use one.
Had a hard day, have you, then?
Yeah, a bit of a tough day, you know. Large bit. So, what's on your mind?
Let's have a sit down, shall we?
Put that on my bill, will you? And have one yourself.
So. So, our Linda's been singing like a little bird.
Stupid, empty-headed woman. Good for nothing. Well, not a lot.
Dad.
So she keeps herself in good nick, I'll give her that.
Listen.
She was mad when she was a kid, you know. Absolute raver.
We're going to have to get round to this sooner or later.
Scotch, sir. Thank you. What's that then?
There'll be charges.
Oh, I see.
There'll have to be.
Mm. Yeah, if you say so. What sort of charges?
Not finalised yet.
Scraping the barrel, are we? Ah, this has been coming for weeks, hasn't it? I knew it. Well, I mean, I could sense it. I didn't want to see it. Funny how we've all got our little soft spots, isn't it? Little weaknesses. Oh, I wanted so much for you and me. Ah, there you are. See, hard case like me getting vulnerable in my old age. I never thought that you would.
Well, you better start trying, Dad, because it's true.
So what's the form?
We'll be in touch. Don't be too hard to find, will you?
Think you've taken care of that, haven't you?